Alright. Hello everyone, welcome to the Mancini the Amazing channel. Remember, it's a 2-drink minimum tonight. Well, we give you the wacky... I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not a stand-up comedian. I was trying to do like a stand-up comedian thing. I'm sorry, please, I tried. But we're here with the Shelgontbijt VBL Season 12. What's the deal with Prankster? I mean, come on. The number of times I've seen someone click a Prankster move into a Dark type has only slightly increased since the introduction of Dark type as a check to Prankster, Terra Dark as a check to Pranksters. And I'm here with a team built around one of the funniest Pranksters, and I think the only Prankster I have a plush of. I'm pretty sure it's the only Pokemon with Prankster I have a plush of. Sableye. So I am going to take you through this. So this was a 32-person coach draft, so we picked 11 Pokemon from a set of 32 coaches. There were the 110 points each, and I think the most expensive was 28 with the minimum of 1. So picked 11 within that range. And it sort of meant the way that we've reshifted it is we shifted a lot of the lower tier Pokemon down, some of them down significantly in price to ensure that people were really being able to get sort of the all with all of their teams. And it's led to a really interesting thing. It led to a few Pokemon being significantly underpriced, and then a lot of Pokemon being like a little bit under where I would normally have tiered them at. It's definitely been a significant shake-up to the format, and I hope that I can Prankster encore as many people as possible in this season. So for my first round 1 pick, I was picked 28 out of 32, I think. Possibly 27, possibly 29. I'm terrible at maths. I was right near the end. There were a few coaches after me. I think 27. And here is my genie in a bottle. Oh yeah, the nickname theme. Keith/Thudgore and I have the same nickname theme, which is that we both asked, Keith's girlfriend nicknamed all of her Pokemon. Both mine and his, though he was the person who did the actual asking of it. And what I've decided to do is spotlight one thing that I think will be interesting to talk about with each of the Pokemon as we go through this video. So here is the signature move of Landorus, Zany Storm, which has 100 base power. It's got 80 accuracy. It's a spread move, which is really cool because it doesn't hit your partner Pokemon unlike Earthquakes. That's nice. It is special, and because it has a 20% chance to burn foes, it actually is boosted by Sheer Force. So Life Orb Sheer Force Landorus is really strong. It's having its best format in the history of VGC ever, mostly as a result of the other Landorus not being everywhere, because 1, you can only use this Landorus if you don't have the other one, and 2, the other Landorus is one of the best possible checks to this Landorus, and Incineroar, which has sort of come up and taken its place, is really bad into this Landorus. This Landorus is a very, very cogent check to Incineroar. So definitely a really interesting change. Very interesting shift in dynamic, and with the Life Orb Sheer Force and that Earth Power Stab, as well as some of its interesting coverage options and solid support, Landorus is really capable of putting out a very significant amount of damage against a wide range of teams. It's something where a lot of people will have to most Pokemon, very few Pokemon can take 2. Most Pokemon struggle to take 1 hit from Landorus, especially if I am pairing it with a Prankster Fate Tears from Sableye or something like that. The Life Orb Sheer Force power from strong ground type with 125 special attack is really good. The 101 speed is nice as well. It's not as good as it was last gen, nor is it as good as it was the gen before, nor is it as good as it was the gen before that. But that sort of is what it is. It's reasonably tanky. It does actually have a very high physical attack as well, and access to Sand Force, so if I ever run into a sand team, I can use that if I want to. But yeah, the genie in a bottle is absolutely popping off tonight, I'm sure. It's definitely something that is really interesting, and I'm also pairing it with Sableye, which has the ability to click Gravity, which then will make this 80 accuracy into 100 and allow the Zany Storm to hit both ground and other ground and levitate Pokemon and air balloons and the such, so that my opponent can't try and get their way around Zany Storm. So that's solid. Now we've got that original Prankster. And Sableye doesn't have any fancy signature move. It does have a signature ability, which I am not super likely to run, because it also has the ability Prankster. with its Ghost and Dark typing, it's only weak to one typing in Fairy, which, you know, is definitely a strong typing, definitely one you have to take very seriously. But the fact that you're mostly neutral or immune to a wide range of other types, as well as a poison resist, means that there are a decent number of situations where Sableye can sort of just come in and feel okay. And it has access to Fake Out, which is nice. You know, Foul Play is nice to have a Dark type for. Just means that you're always doing something to annoy physical attackers. But the main reason that Sableye is good is because it has a very wide status move pool, including this generation having gotten its first access to Light Screen and Reflect, and in one of the last 2 DLCs, I think Indigo Disc, but it might have been Tealmask, getting back access to Gravity, which, like we said, was very high synergy with Landorus. It also has access to Sunny Day, which you may see a synergy or 2 coming down the line for that. But yeah, Wisp, Thunderwave, Quash, Encore, Fake Tears, like I mentioned. I think it's got Growl as well. You know, like it's got a very broad range of options for damage and damage mitigation. Damage enhancement on my side and damage mitigation from the opposing side, as well as a lot of positioning options like the aforementioned Quash, which when paired with Fake Out and the fact that Foul Play is good, just means it's really easy and fun to make your opponent have bad times with Sableye. It's just mildly annoying to play against in all things, so it's definitely a mon that I'm very excited to have on my team and not on the opponent's team. It's a mon that I did use a little bit earlier this generation, and it honestly was a lot of fun. It is just a mon that you can like build so many different team structures using, even though it has a really, really low base stat total. So it's definitely an awesome Pokemon, Sableye. Very happy to have the original Prankster on the team. Now, into our next mon, we've got Pop. I assume this is a reference to the classic band Pop Will Eat Itself. But so here's Weavile. It's solid, 125 base speed, does have access to Fake Out. But there was something far more sinister behind me picking it up. Obviously, the main thing that, like I said, Fake Out, it's access to Taunt, has a relatively fast Icy Wind. These are not the real reason to use Weavile is for that Metronome. Metronome broken. 16 options to pick random moves. You don't know what these moves can be. Your opponent doesn't know what these moves can be. These moves could just be like some of the craziest one-hit KO moves ever. These moves could just be random nonsense that doesn't achieve anything, and you will have no idea. No one will have any idea. Look, I could be pulling Fissure out of nowhere after I pull the move that targets. So I actually don't think that move exists anymore, and I also don't think it ever worked with Fissure. I think it specifically did Nordoka moves. I'm sure I'll get No Guard somehow. We'll go with that. Look, you don't know what I'll pull out of it. 16 PP, and all of that could be Fissure. Fissure normally has 8. 16 is even better. But yeah, no, Weavile's really cool. It appreciates getting back its main stab options in Knockoff and Triple Axle, which it did not have earlier in the generation. And look, last generation and before that, there were a lot of times where Sneasel felt about as good as Weavile because the speed tiers felt very comparable, and Sneasel has access to Inner Focus while Weavile does not. But in the current generation, the ability Covert Cloak exists, the item Covert Cloak exists, and the item Clear Amulet also exists, both of which can sort of achieve what Inner Focus did previously, and the 125 speed tier is so much more important than it used to be, even if it's just forcing opposing Pokemon to run speed booster, things like that. And I think the damage is also nicer. 95 attack is good, not as good as 115, I think it is a Weavile, but it also just doesn't click Metronome as quickly, and I just want to be able to click the Metronome as quickly as possible. So, Pop Will Eat Itself indeed. Then we have Iron Valiant punches. My favorite thing about Iron Valiant that I often forget is it actually has a decent defense stat, because it has an okay HP stat 74 and a really bad special defense stat. I think it's 60, though possibly 50. It just gets blown back by a lot of moves. But actually, if I'm in a situation where, especially if I've gotten a Wisp up from Sableye or a Reflect up from Sableye, or even just mitigated some damage through the use of some nonsense from Weavile, Iron Valiant, which is a relatively fast, strong special attacker, strong physical attacker, mon, is able to even take a hit decently well from the physical side, and then you can pair that potentially with a Calm Mind, and be able to take a decent number of hits from opposing Pokemon while being able to dish out some absolutely crazy damage from close combat or Moonblast. it doesn't love the fact that Spirit breaks its main fairy stab on the physical side, or that there isn't really a great special fighting type move, not named Secret Sword. So there's to say, not one that it learns. But that high burst damage paired with the booster energy option can be really impactful in a game. So it's definitely a mon that I'm interested to use. It's one that I've been pretty hesitant on in the past, but it's nice to have a good fairy, and it is one of my rock resists, so I'm going to need it to sort of be nice, especially after Lando. My ground type does not resist rock. So yeah, there's punches. Now we have got Anna K and the UK. And the great thing about the Sex Pistols is that they are, of course, sex positive, and that's a plus. The Incredible Ability Plus, paired with another Pokemon with the Ability Plus, which I can roleplay, means that this Toxtricity would get an incredible, I think, 1.5 special attack, but I don't actually know. I used plus and minus very early back in my Ampharos and Zangoose video in Pokemon A to Z, so very excited for Anarchy in the UK, very excited for Plus. And Toxtricity is just a mon that I've had some really awesome seasons using. Its Poison and Electric type means that it has some really weird coverage, and it's very difficult for a lot of Pokemon to try and deal with it. That said, that's less true now that Terra Ground exists, but there's a lot of ways that it can sort of get around to annoy different ground types, whether that just be Trailblaze, or whether that be like Terra Blast or things there. And I also have Lando, which most Pokemon want to try and do like Terra Flying, Terra Grass or something to check Lando, and Toxtricity gives me a strong stab move into both of those, which is nice. It's also just, yeah, really fun using like a shift gear set and like, throwing out gunk shots, or whether you're then using like the overdrive with a throw it spray, a really cool and thematic introduction that they paired when they introduced Toxtricity to the game last gen. Very excited. Big Toxtricity fan. Very excited to use it. Then we have Charizard. That's right, you mentioned, oh yes, also I can use Thunder in the rain. And now I can use Hurricane in the rain with my Charizard, which also has access to, oh no, that's not the joke. I may have okay, never mind. Ignore everything that I've said always. I'm sorry. I apologize. Charizard has Sun, is the thing I meant to say. It's Burn Up, which is one of the few songs I wasn't familiar with. Tail Punches, I think Pop might just be Pop Goes the Weasel. I don't know if it's a different song though. I don't actually know this song either. Yeah, so very, very, very strong fire moves. It's a fire flying type, which is honestly a really awesome dual stab type to have. It's got a bunch of really cool defensive interactions. Obviously, Fairy Resist is very nice. Fighting Resist is really cool. Steel Resist is really helpful on this team, which somehow winds up being kind of Steel annoyed as we get down. Or was that a different version of it? Was that my other team? Might have been my other team that was really weak to Steel. Either way, Charizard. Very fun Pokemon. Incredible damage. It doesn't learn Scale Shot anymore, which makes me sad because I basically always want to run like Belly Drum or Swords Dance Scale Shot on it. But I will have to content myself with not doing that. But yeah, Charizard, very fun, very awesome. Just something that synergizes incredibly well with Sableye, because there's a lot of different support options Sableye can click, and all of them can enable Charizard to honestly just be an absolute threat and menace for people. It's Charizard. Who doesn't love Charizard? It's the only Pokemon that I have every single bit of their evolution line in merch. I'm on the way to Eevee, I think that's the only other one that I have more than 2 of. Sorry, 2 or more of, rather. But don't worry, I'm sure I'll get something else at some point. Yeah, big fan of Burn Up. Charizard is really just incredibly fun and is really good synergy with Sableye. And then we have Knuckle Stack, Old Yellow Bricks. This song I was also not familiar with. I'm going to go with Shiny on Knuckle Stack because it looks kind of yellowy there, though it does also have like the glowing yellow eyes, which are very cool. I don't actually know why I drafted Knuckle Stack, to be honest. Well, I do know. It's to synergize with other Pokemon that got sniped. But I wanted the opportunity to run like mostly I think a slower start to games where I can, because the team has some frailer options, I'd like something that can take advantage of Sableye's good defensive support and try and start with a slower version of the game that my opponent will have to try and answer. Knuckle Stack is also quite slow, which can make it a reasonable check to opposing Trick Room. Never an amazing one, but Soul Cure is just a very, very strong move, and it does also have access to powerful options like Helping Hand, or you can just like slam an Iron Defense on it if your opponent's very physical. Especially if you pair that with a Reflect, it becomes very difficult for them to break through Knuckle Stack with a Slack Off and a Soul Cure, constantly spreading damage out. So yeah, very excited to use Knuckle Stack. I honestly don't think it was a great pick. I had like no ghost weaknesses, and don't worry, I picked up as many ghost resists as possible for those 0 ghost weaknesses. But it's cool to be immune to status at the very least. So now on to our next one, we have Hammerhead. Crawdaunt. One of the just absolute, the what's it, Double O Crab or something? No, Double O Darkmeat, I think, was the blunder team with Crab Hammer. Dude, Crawdaunt, really cool Pokemon. It's a Hammerhead. Thinking on it, this is also not a song I'm familiar with. I think I must have just, in my mind, when I was getting slowly drip fed these through Discord, I must have just skipped past the songs I didn't recognize and focused on songs I did. But Crawdaunt, very cool, it has access to adaptability. That means that it has really strong water and dark moves. The main thing I needed on this team, obviously, was another dark type. And yeah, dark moves are pretty strong. You click Dark Pulse and Hydro Pump, or Knock Off and the Crab Hammer, or you can run Liquidation if you're a coward like me. But I honestly wouldn't be shocked to see me throwing out the occasional Crab Hammer, because it's a cool signature move, even if it isn't like particularly amazing. Definitely a strong option with adaptability, and at some point I'm sure I will try and hard force running what's it called, like Shell Armor, using its defense stat to try and yes, with Terra Ghost I can check Urshifu Rapid. I don't know if I play one on season, despite the fact that my schedule's there and I can check. I just haven't checked. And I'll play Flutter. That's week 1. That's going to be fun. Definitely save, subscribe for that. But yeah, very excited to take advantage of the incredible blessing upon this world of Pokemon that is Crawdaunt and Hammerhead. Now onto the Teenage Dirtbag Baby. I picked this Pokemon because it has access to Trick Room. That's basically it. I wanted a Grass type as well, and I wanted some Pokemon that was weak to Ghost, because all of these Ghost and Dark Resist were not that helpful. For some reason, Attack is one of the highest stats that Poltergeist does, mostly because they're all at very similar stats. I think the lowest is 40, which I think is, unfortunately, its health. Its highest is its special attack, I believe. But yeah, access to Trick Room, and it's got interesting coverage as well, interesting support moves, but it's mostly for the strong ability Hospitality, which allows it to switch in and heal my Pokemon up, as well as being able to check opposing Tailwind, because currently this team is very weak to Tailwind, because Charizard doesn't learn Tailwind anymore like it used to in previous gens. So obviously that is a significant change that I picked up an option to support with. I think it's got Stun Spore. It's also got Rage Powder. I probably should have mentioned that at some point. Because the main thing you want is more Pokemon, more things to encourage the opposing Pokemon to click Terra Grass. It's actually a well-known fact. And then after Poltergeist, I just kept getting sniped, man. I was towards the start of the draft, it was not the same. Like I was saying, up with Landorus and Sableye, and they were like the main Pokemon I wanted. Weavile, I didn't have any idea in mind until a few picks before mine when I decided on Weavile. I didn't have any idea in mind until a few picks before mine when I decided on Valiant. Then sort of after that, I started really looking at picks, and then everything I went I think I like Jolteon, Thundurus Therian, and some other really strong Kilowattrel sort of all went at the same time with Toxtricity. Every single fire type in the game went, except for Road of Heat, which I didn't really want because I wanted my Electric and Fire to be separate Pokemon. Went, so I picked Charizard, though I do also like Charizard. And then I picked Crawdaunt because there were just so many water types went. Specifically, I think it was Floatzel and Kingdra. And then at this point, it's oh my gosh, nothing has Trick Room left. I'm gonna get Poltergeist. And then after this, I went with Total Eclipse of the Heart. The Dreadnought Superior was a lot more timely when I was recording the video, but it was Pokemon that was close to my heart when the draft was actually going on. It's an interesting mon, it has access to Shell Smash, and I do have some interesting support options in the redirection, in the Fake Out, 2 very good Fake Out users, to hopefully be able to take advantage of setting up with Dreadnought and getting that incredible damage off with that Shell Smash, and that Strong Jaw crunch, because it doesn't have a stab move for Strong Jaw. It's kind of sad, but mostly Rock Slide, let's be honest. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm pretty interested in trying to do with Dreadnought, and we'll see if I can run Terra Stellar on it this season. Probably not. Terra Stellar is a really powerful ability that sometimes just immediately loses you the game because you don't have any defensive changes, which is sad. Yeah, this mod doesn't really have a whole lot to talk about outside of the, you know, it's a bond that you can sort of run a few different items on, like, you know, whether it be the White Herb or the Focus Sash to facilitate Shell Smash, or you can just try and do damage earlier on with like a Life Orb or Scarf or something like that. Yeah, really not an amazing Pokemon, but it is a mon that has a very cool Gigantamax, and that I did use this record this fun A to Z just around when the draft was happening. And then we get on to our last Pokemon, Park Life, which is Serena, with the very powerful ability Leaf Guard to synergize with the Charizard in Sun. This prevents Serena from getting the status conditions while it's in Sun. Now, you may look at, say, Manaphy, or a bunch of other Pokemon have Hydration, but Manaphy's the one that comes immediately to mind. And you're like, Hydration heals your status at the end of the turn, which means that you will lose any status you had before Sun, and you can also click the move Rest. With Leaf Guard, you cannot click the move Rest. It fails. And also, if you're already status when Sun went up, you're still statused. So, if you're wondering, isn't this ability significantly worse than Hydration, and Sun already not particularly significantly better than Rain? Why does this ability exist in the form that, that's a really good question. But I did want a real grass type that could threaten with grass type damage, and Serena got access to triple Axelback, so that's really cool. And ultimately, look, I'm keen on having Serena on the team. Last time I drafted it, I did drop it for week 1. But I didn't do that this time, therefore Serena must be broken. Thank you everyone for watching. Please give me some comments down below about how you feel about the team altogether. I did sort of pick up Serena just because it was kind of okay, interesting, sure, whatever. I just wanted the immunity to priority moves because I have, like I mentioned, Iron Valiant, Landorus, even like a Dreadnought after a Shell Smash can feel frail, can feel difficult to keep them around. So having something that, allows me to run potentially like a Sash or something like that and not get picked off is nice. It's definitely nice. But yeah, thank you guys all for watching. Goodbye.